Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Ink and Paint. My name is Jill Diffendahl. I am your host here on Ink and Paint. But before we get started with our show tonight, I have some exciting news I want to share with you all. You, as our viewers of Ink and Paint Live tonight, are watching the very first program ever on the newly named Unplanned Downtime channel. So I want to treat you all to a quick preview of what Unplanned Downtime is all about. Here we go, everybody. Get ready. So there we go, everybody. Unplanned Downtime, new channel, some of the same great shows, including ours right here, which I'm very excited for. We've also got news tonight is going to be on the channel now starting next week, coming back on July 8th. But as the inaugural show on this new network, I'm very excited to introduce the rest of my cast. My co-host, Ashley Jasmer. And then we have Amy Rika.
Hi, everyone.
And Miss Allison.
Hello.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We've got a lot of familiar faces in the chat. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Happy to see you here. Thank you for joining us tonight. So tonight, our topic is the Disney pink tax. And so pink tax, and I guess I want to clarify, because I think we're kind of broadening this beyond the traditional definition, but pink tax generally means that very frequently in a large percentage of cases, women pay more for the exact same things than men do. That could be shampoo, that could be razors. A lot of times, in a lot of instances, it's, sort of personal items like that. It also often happens with t-shirts, where a women's t-shirt that is cut better to fit a woman's body costs several dollars more than a men's t-shirt. But here at Disney, I think it also applies to the fact, or we are kind of using it to apply to the fact that there's so much more merchandise and so many more things marketed out there to women than there tend to be for men when you're in the parks. And that goes for little girls, that goes for grown women, kind of everything in between. And I think it's not just that they are taking a little bit advantage maybe of playing on things like mouse ears and dresses, but also to the detriment of guys who don't have the same choices. If we're talking about the pink taxes, equivalent things cost more for women. The problem with Disney is there aren't equivalent things for men. There's not really an equivalent to the dress shop dresses. There's not really an equivalent to the mini ears. So there's kind of unfairness on both sides of the table. And so that's kind of what we want to talk here about tonight. And to get us started, I want to kick off and show a couple of videos that I took over the weekend. I was at Hollywood Studios, and there's basically a store at Hollywood Studios that has nothing but merchandise geared toward women, and a lot of it's super expensive. So I just, I took this little video to kind of show you guys what some of the stuff was and what some of the price tags look like. So they have a ton of the dress shop dresses. They have a bunch of the Loungefly purses. They have the Dooney and Bourke purses. And the price tags are insane. And Allison, you probably know this, but the dress shop dresses are like $128. They're so expensive. The ears, as I struggle with the price tag there, are $30. the purses, we're talking 65, they can be 70, and the Doonies start at like 125. They're crazy expensive.
Very pricey.
And this is all this entire store is. And then they have clothes too. And all of the clothes in the shop are geared towards women. They have a brand new Daisy Duck line that just came out. Here's all the Dooney purses. And they're releasing like a different line of Doonies every month. I mean, they started
Sometimes
like
twice a month.
tiny ones. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes they have 2 different lines a month that come out. For the tiny ones, they're $125, but the bigger ones are, well over $200. And so that sadly wasn't the end of the video. There's more. Like, this is still the same store, by the way. They have all this new Cruella merch. Again, dresses, clothes specifically meant for women, hats, all the lounge fly bags, the standard $75 for a lounge fly. Tie-dyed pink and purple shirts, leggings, mouse ears, and they put together all these outfits for you.
The mannequins, the plus-size mannequins in that store now.
Yeah, actually, I really appreciate that too. I think I appreciate that Disney is trying to, appeal to everybody. And then you walk into the jewelry section, and this was kind of my favorite part, because here's where some of the big price tags come in. The Chrysloo jewelry, the Rebecca Hook jewelry. And then when you get all the way to the back of the store, you're talking price tags. There was a necklace in here that was $4,000. She's like, wait, what? And it was just sort of this tiny little thing. So here we go. We have some really nice watches for guys. And those are expensive, don't get me wrong, but they're in the hundreds of dollars. They have jewelry in here that is literally $4,000.
And that's insane in a theme park.
There you go. There it is right there, $4,000. Right, and you're in a theme park. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's not really the place for that.
I'm of two minds of it. If you have the money and that's what you want to spend it on, you do you. But at the same token, what I find interesting is you had, again, the bracelets, the jewelry, and you had that one, maybe 2 display cases that had maybe 6 watches total for men. And I think I counted like a set of cufflinks and a ring. Like, that's where it doesn't seem equitable. Where it used to seem, even with the jewelry, like fairly even. Like, you had just as much men's and women's watches. You had rings, for men and things like that. Like, it's just really bizarre to me that they've almost like discounted, like, well, forget it. Men aren't going to spend the money, so we're just going to focus on women and make it that much more bombastic and keeping up with the Joneses as far as having the nicest Disney merch that you can have.
Yeah, that's something that I have my husband and some of my male friends will complain about. They're like, why can't where's the guy's equivalent of like the Pandora charms and the bracelet? Where's, like, I would like a little memento. I like some rings or some kind of jewelry thing, like, but everything is like, or most of it's super feminine or dangly or sparkly or very colorful. It's like, I they would like a little something too sometimes, but there isn't nearly as much of a choice.
It's interesting too, because, like, personally, the people I know that are most into buying Disney stuff are guys. Like, the top 3 merch people I know are all men. They all also work at WDWNT. And I'm sure you can guess at least one of them. But, and it's kind of, imagine how much more money Disney could make if they could, appeal and bring out some kind of line, like you were saying, Allison, like jewelry or more clothing. I mean, I think Disney does an okay job. Like, they have the men's button-down shirts, but beyond that, like, there's no jewelry, there's no mouse ear equivalent, there's no lounge fly equivalent. Although I do actually see more and more guys carrying around lounge flies these days. But it's I think it's kind of not fair, and it feels like Disney's just sort of overlooking this entire demographic. Yeah, 28 in Maine. Somebody just said in chat. It used to be in Springs in the co-op. And that was an awesome store for all guys. And there's nothing remotely comparable now.
Nope. Yeah, I think they had issues. I think they had similar issues with quality that a lot of that I think we'll get into with a lot of the women's stuff, especially clothing. But at least it was something. Like, again, like now it just feels like the default is like when you go to Disney and you're like, hey, I'll bring you something back. If it's a guy, even if he might be into Disney, if he's not into Disney parks where you could bring him back some sort of ride specific merchandise, it's like, hey, I got you a t-shirt. Like that's, even if it's a button down, and don't get me wrong, those are nice.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much your only default. Like, I got you a shirt. Here you go.
And the other thing that I hear a lot is it's like, at least for, like lately it's been a little bit better, but for the longest time since I can remember going, it was, what are on the guys' shirts? Mickey, Goofy, Grumpy. Like, what? Can we get another character? Like, a t-shirt? Okay, Grumpy. Okay, more Grumpy and more Grumpy. Like, that was basically it. It was like those three ones.
Stitch. Now you've got Stitch.
Oh.
Yeah. Although Stitch is kind of unisex, I think.
Yeah. We have had to buy suitcases, though. And not for me, because I bought too much stuff, but because my significant other bought tons of Christmas ornaments. And the Chippendale Nutcrackers and the train. And so he spent way more than, he always spends way more than I do on that stuff. So I think if they had stuff specifically for him, he would buy it.
Well, and that's the thing. I was just going to say, for people that are really into the parks, I think they will buy all of the collectibles and that sort of thing. But the average guy who's going with his family, probably isn't going to go to that level. I do think if you're super into the parks, there is sort of a whole other level of stuff that's, the collectible goods, obviously the pins. Pins do not see gender, but
no.
For your kind of casual go once every few years with your wife and kids kind of guy, I don't think there's anywhere near as much for them.
You know what, though? He wasn't into the parks before he got into collecting. So he went to the parks, found all the stuff, and now that's like his goal, is to go there to find more stuff. That's his thing.
Do you think that maybe it's a little bit similar how how Disney isn't really marketing things towards the annual pass holders? They love the people that are there. Like 3 times in their lifetime, they're going to be buying a lot of stuff. Do you think that maybe that's kind of similar where with guys, where it's like, hey, I finally found this one character or this thing, and now I'm going to buy all the things that have this character in it. Like I love Quasimodo, I love the Hunchback, but I never find him. And as soon as I start to see Hunchback stuff, I'm going to buy all the Hunchback stuff. So do you think that maybe that has a little bit to do with it, or not really?
It could be, and I get that some of it is a business decision because you can't possibly have merch for the entire pantheon of Disney characters for the one-off person who may really enjoy that obscure character. Like that, there wouldn't be money in that for them, but they could diversify a little bit more. Go
ahead, sorry.
For the ladies, though.
No, go ahead.
For the dresses and the purses, there's definitely you see some obscure things that you're like,
you do.
I never see this, but
I think they could do.
You never see it for guys.
Yeah, I think they could do better, but I do kind of understand why we don't have merch for every single character. But I think, again, put the guest surveys to good use and actual use instead of just proving points that you want to prove to take away fun things. And actually find out the obscure characters and the characters that people are into. People go nuts when, pregnancy brain moment. Robin Hood and all those characters show up.
Yeah.
People love those characters, and when they do have merch, it's usually pretty cute and it sells out. They just did a Dooney for it. It was adorable. So yeah, I mean, they could definitely survey, especially now that you have kids who grew up in the 90s with, movies that didn't necessarily do as well, but we still love, like Hunchback. You should start getting kind of into more of those characters, because now we have not a lot of disposable income, but we do have it, obviously, for Disney people probably, and you'd be willing to buy.
I love you, Brandy, because Brandy just said in the chat, if you like obscure Disney references on shirts, I recommend Carousel of Products.
Thank you for the plug, Brandy.
Thank you so much. Carouselofproducts.com, all your Disney t-shirt needs. I see it. I don't know. I don't get it, because I think Disney's missing out. Like, I don't think it's because they, have market tested or whatever and know that obscure characters won't work. I think they just don't want to bother because they're encouraged to not be creative about how they merchandise things in the parks anymore. Yeah. Just like they're encouraged to not be creative about how they design rides and lands. Like, I've seen so many people. I see so many people walking around in t-shirts that they buy off TeePublic or Etsy or whatever. Like, I used to walk around the parks and hunt for Emperor's New Groove merchandise because I love that movie. And there was never anything. The most you'd get is pins. And so I would buy the couple. Kronk was my favorite character because I love Patrick Warburton. And I would buy, like, there were like maybe 3 Kronk pins ever for the longest time. And I would buy them because I was like, this is the only merchandise I can find. But now you walk around the parks and you see people with homemade t-shirts. I saw this girl at the Grand Floridian who had like custom made, I don't know, she probably got them on Etsy or something, Yzma ears, where the ears were potion bottles. Like, people get really creative. They're making a ton of money on Etsy and all those sites, and Disney's completely missing out because they're not paying attention to what people want.
It's very true. Kind of switching gears, but we just got a comment in the chat from Penguin Project talking about the Mickey ears. So yeah, the regular Mickey ear hats are $25 and are kind of marketed towards guys more so than women. But again, like you showed in the video, Jill, I mean, the mini ears are $30 a pop or more if they're special designer collectible moment ears. And it just, I mean, it's
like, half of me wants to argue that I understand that the ear hats are basically just felt and the ears are made of plastic. Like, I understand that there is material-wise not a lot to them. But look, I have these sitting here so that I can demonstrate. These are, I don't buy a lot of ears. I'm not an ear person. But I bought these because they're Club 33 ears. I had the opportunity. I couldn't not take it. There's a string. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. Yeah. There's a string this long hanging off these ears that I paid $30 for. Yeah, and it happens to every pair of ears. Like, I paid $30 for what is basically plastic covered with sequins, and there's a little bit of probably foam inside here.
And the sequins is itchy.
Apart. Oh God, it like cuts your head. And they're falling apart. It's ridiculous.
I will never buy another pair of sequins ears because I got the Aerodel Aqua ones because I love the color, and it cut into the side of my head. I'm like, never again.
Same.
The only ones that I like are like the Christmas ones that have like the fur balls or something. Those are not heavy, but all the other ones are heavy or itchy or awkward, and that's why I feel like they sell more of, like, the people on Etsy wind up selling a lot of them is because they make them for comfort and lightweight, and they're actually thinking it through.
Yeah, because they care about their customers, and they understand that selling a good product is how you get repeat business and how you get customers to actually like what you do.
Yeah. Well, and that brings up, and Penguin Project just made this comment too, since we were bringing up the ear.
About the tags being smaller. They're so obnoxious.
Yeah, no, they are obnoxious and ridiculous. But yeah, Penguin Project just brought up too, even, kind of to switch gears a little bit, but still talking about ears, all of the color collections, which I will fully admit that I'm guilty of owning, especially the Spirit jerseys, owning several. And again, they got me. They're cute. But yeah, you don't see anything like that for guys. And if you want that whole collection, you're talking about dropping maybe $300 for the spirit jersey, the lounge fly, the ears, whatever other water bottle random accessories they may come out with for that particular color collection. And it sells out like gangbusters every time.
And that's, I think what this whole like merch and especially this like female oriented merch conversation is like a microcosm of the bigger Disney conversation, which is that on the one hand, if we would stop buying it, they would stop making it. Just like maybe if we stopped going to the parks, they would realize that they're providing a bad product and might try to fix things. And it's so hard to.
There's definitely a level. Right. No, and I say this as a person who is surrounded by a wall, has a backdrop of a wall of Disney merch. No matter how we have this conversation, there's definitely a certain level of hypocrisy here. Because we are all guilty of buying it in one way, shape, form, or another. But it is interesting and frustrating, and I don't know what we do about it, because again, at some point they will get you, because deep down they know that you like the things.
Yeah. Yep. I'm still going to pay $128 for these dresses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
tell us about the dresses, Allison. Tell us about the dresses. So if for those of you who may not know, our very own Miss Allison is heavy into the dress shop world. Do you know how many you own?
Maybe about 20 at this point, something like that.
Wow.
Okay. And they are generally retail for $128 a piece, correct? Yes. I mean, you do get a pass holder discount, right?
Do get a pass holder discount. The older, like when I first started buying the dresses, some of them were $108, and I think the first couple of dresses that I bought were $108, and then if it included like a little sweater, like my Main Street one included a sweater, I think that was the one that was $128, and then after maybe like, I don't know, maybe like a year and a half, they all went up to $128. But I kept buying them anyway.
Mm-hmm. So do you have any explanation do you just love, like, I'm not asking you to justify yourself, I'm just curious if you have, like, is there a thought process or no? Like, did you mean to start out buying, like, did you know when you started that you were going to wind up with 20 dresses? Like, how did it come about?
So I went to the dress shop on Cherry Tree Lane for one vacation, and it was when the dresses very first started to come out, and and I loved Belle, and I loved her blue dress so much. And whenever I was like a little kid, or I would always just see the costumes for the big gold dress, and I always wanted the blue dress, and I saw it in the dress shop, and I said, oh, they have the blue dress. How much is it? Oh, $108. Do I really want it that bad? I'm like, it probably it's not even going to fit me that well, probably. And then I tried it on, and it fit me like a glove. It fits so perfectly. I said, I have to get this dress. I have to. If I leave and then I come back 6 months from now and it's not there, I'm going to kick myself. And then sure enough, it wasn't there the next time I went on vacation. So I was so happy that I bought it.
No.
So I got my blue dress, and that was the one that started it all. And then I bought a couple of more because they had pockets, and I could wear them to work and be whimsical. And they were comfortable, and they fit me very well. And at first I just bought a couple, and then after a while, like, I started buying more, and then my mom started buying me some, and everybody kept buying me dresses, so I'm like, I will take more dresses, you can give me more if you want. So that's how it started.
Yeah, it definitely, maybe that's, I've never tried one on, and maybe I need to not ever try one on because I would be concerned. Well, and it's funny, like, see, Allison, you wear them to work, correct?
I used to, well, as a sign language interpreter, I can't wear them to work because they have busy patterns and all bright colors and stuff like that. But I used to when I worked at Liberty Science Center and I was a manager. So they looked nice, but they looked whimsical. So I was like, I wore them to work because if I'm going to pay over $100 for this dress, you better believe I'm going to be wearing this dress. Also, the pockets were so big, I could put my entire radio in my pocket, which was very useful.
Yeah, I think like that was my struggle before I moved to Florida because I couldn't see a scenario in which wearing a dress shop dress to like the mall or to work was really a thing that people would not look at me strangely for. But now that I live here, I feel like maybe it's a little different that like I could easily wear a dress shop dress if I'm going to the parks in the evening or, you know, going to dinner somewhere on property or going to dinner off property, like walking around off property. Like there was a dude in front of me who was wearing Luxo Ball socks today. Like it's everywhere. So I feel like there's definitely an application difference that, yeah, I wouldn't want to pay $100 and some for a dress if I didn't feel like I could wear it more than a couple times. So now that now that that's a different scenario, maybe I might have to get sucked in a little bit. I don't know.
Wear the dress.
I've been to conferences.
Look cute and feel cute. What was that? I'm sorry.
I've been to conferences where people have worn dress shop dress, like in other parts of the country. They were marketing conferences, so more the creative types. But I've seen like the Fantasyland dresses. I think a couple different people, like at one conference in Washington State, 2 people wore 2 different dress shop dresses on the same day.
Wow. I remember one time I went into my dry cleaner and there was the green tiki room dress was like hanging there waiting to be picked up. And I was like blown away that there was a dress shop dress at the dry cleaner in like my little town, like outside of Philadelphia. That like totally blew my mind. I had to take a picture and like text it to people. I'm like, I saw a dress shop dress at the dry cleaner. But okay, so here's the follow-up, Allison. How well made are they? Like you wear them regularly, are they?
Are they?
I think the only problem, there was one time where there was one dress, the ones that have like the two straps, and they're just the very thin straps. You know what I'm talking about? Those
like the tiki room dress, or
like the tiki room dress? Yes, the tiki room dress has the 2 straps and it's adjustable. So there's 2 buttons, 2 holes for the buttons, and on one of my orange bird dresses, the button had popped off, but it was a pretty, I could just sew the button back. But that's the only issue that I ever actually ran into with some type of quality thing regarding any of the dresses. I've never had any other problems with them.
I'm impressed.
That's good.
I mean, and only because I feel like, again, like we've talked about, Disney merch quality is not really there. So the fact that now,
not always,
you're gonna turn me into a dress shop convert now.
I bought like a sweatsuit, like a jogger suit, and the sweatshirt. It was a couple of years ago. Red Minnie Mouse with polka dots on the inside lining, and the pants were red with like polka dots sort of on the leg, and I washed them. True story. They didn't match anymore. The bottom bled differently than the top. So the colors are different. And the pants, you can, after washing them one time, now see through them. Not true with the hoodie, the zip up. But the pants are so thin. Like now they're just pajama pants that I wear in the house. But like the whole set was $150. Like, come on.
Whoa.
Oh my
that's
gosh.
really bad. Well, and that's the other problem when you
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you were going to buy an outfit like that at a store in your local mall or whatever, and that happened after one wash for $150 outfit, I would take that sucker back.
I would take
like
it back.
that. But when it's Disney, most people can't just turn around and take stuff back. And I think maybe that's part of the problem, that Disney doesn't understand the dissatisfaction with merchandise quality, because most people aren't able to bring back the stuff that falls apart after one wash.
Good point.
No.
I mean, I got it home, I washed it, and that's when I discovered the problem. I went to put it on.
Yeah.
And I was like, this doesn't match. It did when I bought it.
Yeah. Because, I mean, they do, well, at least they did have the phone number at the bottom of the receipt that you could call. But who honestly saves all of their receipts on vacation?
Who wants to go? Like, I figure
I'm a weird receipt junkie.
Done.
Strange.
Not too many people do, though.
Right. No. Not too many people do, because you're trying to keep up with a million other things and get it all home. But
so do you want to switch over and we can go through some of the photos and screenshots you pulled, Ashley?
Yeah. So we can segue over into they're kind of dresses. So I noticed it when I was down at Disney a couple weeks ago, but I didn't get any great pictures. But okay, so here's the first one. So Disney Store, World of Disney, Downtown Disney. Those, you have the, we can go to the t-shirt.
No, this isn't the one you want me to show.
Yeah. So here's a prime example of what we were kind of talking about earlier, where women's shirts versus men's shirts. They're both t-shirts that I found on the Shop Disney site today. Standard t-shirts, like it's not even a V-cut. One is for men, one is for women. They don't even look like they're cut
different. Yeah.
They're not cut different. They're not.
Oh, look at this.
But one just has Minnie Mouse t-shirt for women. It is $2 more than the Indiana Jones shirt. Technically, I feel like both of these are unisex shirts. Like, I'm wearing an Indiana Jones shirt right now. Like, but because they added the tag for women and it's Minnie Mouse, they upcharged it by $2.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why? I would love to know the justification.
So in like 5 days, this t-shirt is going to be half price. That's right. Because it's limited edition holiday. And again, like, this is frustrating because there is a men's version of this shirt that has Mickey Mouse on it. Now, why does the women's shirt have to be Minnie and the men's shirt have to be Mickey? Like, that
I don't know.
Frustrates me too.
Like, I couldn't find the Mickey shirt. I'm assuming maybe it was sold out, or, Shop Disney was having its typical issues. But yeah, you have two shirts, both standard cut.
And they're like the exact same shirt.
Mm-hmm. But because they put for women in the description for one, like, that's the only thing I can surmise.
So I will say Disney does a lot anymore, and I think they're better than the average retailer, that most of what you see on Shop Disney, for example, is for adults. It's not for men. It's not for women. There are absolutely things, but the vast majority is for men or is for adults, which I think is nice in the sense that they're not charging different prices for a men's version or a women's version. But at the same time, there's also the undeniable fact that women's bodies are shaped differently than men. And so to wear a unisex shirt is not generally flattering on a woman, and she might prefer a shirt that is cut to fit her body. So it's kind of, you've got...
If a guy wanted to wear a shirt that's cut for a lady, there's definitely shirts that, I had either my husband or some of my friends say, I really like that shirt, I like that character, but that's a woman's shirt. I'm like, why don't you just get it? And they're like, it's not going to fit my shoulders. It's not going to fit. So it goes the other way too.
And like, would it be that much more expensive for Disney to make the same shirt in a men's version and a women's cut version so that you can choose the cut that fits you better? And I know that women sometimes prefer to wear a unisex cut shirt. They're just more comfortable that way. They maybe don't want something that has the V-neck. They maybe don't want something that's more fitted or contoured. But give people the choice so that they can buy what they want to buy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I looked at Shop Disney too before coming on today, and I started to look at all of the t-shirts and tanks for men and t-shirts and tanks for women. And I tried to look for like what are the cheapest ones. So in the men's, you did have a bunch that were $19.99. And then I went to women's and I looked, and there were some that were $19.99. However, those were the more unisex or men's style cut shirts. They were darker colors. They were usually of a male character or something generic. And I couldn't find anything in the for women's t-shirt section that was a bright or a light color or a woman's cut.
It's definitely...
Well, and I think some of that is their stock issues too on Shop Disney, because you go 1 minute and there's a bajillion different things, and then magically it's all sold out and disappeared in like 20 minutes, and then 20 more minutes later and it's all there again. Like,
yeah.
But even when you walk around the parks, I mean, like Jill showed and everything, there's kind of back to the original hypothesis. There's no shortage of the women's stuff, but it's more expensive.
And here's the thing, like for anybody that wants to argue like, well, it costs more to make the women's cut or whatever. First of all, maybe try cost averaging that across the collection so that women aren't paying more. Like I understand it's not Disney's fault if the manufacturer charges more for the, blank shirt that is women's cut. But I think also Disney is a global multi-billion-dollar corporation that maybe has some clout in being able to push back on manufacturers to say it's not fair that you're charging more for a women's shirt when, if anything, you're probably using less fabric for the women's shirt than you are for the men's shirt. But also it just sort of seems like, I don't know. I think they could do better in giving people more options and better prices. And I mean, like
at the same time, that was one of the things that they were arguing with, like, companies were saying, well, if I'm making a 1X or a 2X, I'm going to charge you more for that shirt because it's more material. And the companies stopped, at least some companies that I know have stopped doing that because it really costs $3.
Well, Disney's one of them. Yeah.
Right. So why are you charging the same amount for a 1X or 2X when I know there are also clothing manufacturers that charge, like the people that make the blank shirts charge more for the larger sizes, but Disney's averaging that across the cost of the t-shirt. So why can't they do that with the women's cut?
Yeah.
And like, I know, and no matter what it is, Disney's making a killing on this stuff. We all know that it does not cost $26.99 or $24.99 for that t-shirt. It probably costs Disney under $5. And I know full well, like, now that I live here, I'm buying way less merchandise in the parks because I know if I wait a couple months, I can go to the Character Connection outlet, the Character Warehouse, that is 10 minutes away, and find all that same stuff for literally half the price. And Disney's still making a profit when they charge half the price. So it's not about the fact that they're not making a profit. They just want to make more of a profit. And it is socially acceptable to charge more for women's stuff because that's what everyone else does too.
Well, and on the flip side of that too, and kind of, again, back to what we noted with the shop at Hollywood Studios, how there was nothing really for men of any, anything special, we'll put it that way, for men. Kind of one of the other pictures and something else that I noticed, again, obviously, I'm expecting, and right as we walked in the door to World of Disney, there was an entire rack of really cute princess onesies. little headbands, little princess headbands. Yep. Quite literally took that picture and sent it to a girlfriend of mine and said, "Send help." Because
for those of you who don't know, Ashley is pregnant.
I'm having a girl. And yeah, that was right in your face as you walked in. And again, good placement for somebody like me. But so we started walking around, and I wound up buying it was the only thing I bought was the headband and one of the onesies. But that was almost $50 because those headbands were, well, I have them here. The headbands were $15. And yep, here they are. And I will say they are of decent quality, and it is 4 of them for $15. So these, like, I'm not so mad about. It does seem reasonable, right? It's like $2 or $3 a headband.
Yeah.
This, on the other hand, well,
but it's
absolutely adorable. Absolutely adorable. Play The Price is Right. Guess how much it was?
For just this one.
$19.99.
You are so close. So by price, Price is Right rules. Allison won. $29.99. $30.
What?
That is so overpriced for a baby's thing.
Right?
So for those doing the math, if you want all 4 of those princess onesies, that is $160? No, $120. I am not the best now. $120.
If you go anywhere else,
plus another $15 for the headbands.
You get like 3 in a pack for $20. $15, $20.
Like if I were to go to Bye Bye Baby or something and find like a Disney themed onesie, which they do exist, $15, $20.
Yeah.
No, but because we are official Disney merch, $30.
I mean, it has
$120 for all of them. It does, and I mean, it's decent quality. She's gonna fit in it for like a month and a half, maybe, if I'm lucky.
Is super
so she'll wear it maybe 4 times. But it's adorable. I don't begrudge the fact that it's adorable. And again, I'm guilty. I bought it. Level of hypocrisy here. But the flip side of that, 2 of my coworkers are also expecting. They're having boys.
There's nothing.
I walked around and looped that entire area. Yeah, there was nothing. Nothing. No onesies or cute anything for baby boys. It was insane to me. So you have $120, almost $140 worth of merch sitting on a rack. And that wasn't even all that they had for little girls. Those just, to me, were the cutest. They also had this really cute little cat one that I forgot to get a picture of. With the Disney Cats line. And the Disney Dogs line, too, I think, actually. I saw the cats. I may have hallucinated seeing the dogs. I'm not sure.
You know what, though?
But there was nothing for boys. Nothing. Not even. I mean,
my cats have all the pink stuff, the pink Disney stuff it's pink. Even my terrible, bad, horrible cat who acts like a brute is a girl. She has 2 Disney collars on, too, because she ruined one, and we took it off and put another one on, and then she decided she wanted both and kept picking up the other one and carrying it around. So she's walking around with 2 Disney princess collars on, and she acts like a terrible, terrible, horrible brute. Like, she's bad, and she wants her pink Disney collars.
That's too much.
Oh, it's so bad.
Allison, I think we need a date at the cat cafe soon.
Oh, that would be fun. But yeah, it was insane to me. Like, they didn't even have. I wanted to get them a gift, and I couldn't get them anything because there was nothing.
There's so little for little boys in the parks. I feel like they used to. Lynette just said in chat, they used to have boys' outfits. They used to have, and there are some costumes. There are some costumes, but it's rare that you find them in the park so much now. You can buy them on Shop Disney, and I think we'll get into the costume thing in a little bit too, because Ashley has some very interesting pictures there to kind of demonstrate the pink tax. But in general, you know, unless, you know, there are some, they're not even, I guess now that Disney has Marvel and Star Wars, it's a little bit better. But if you take that out of the equation,
like Marvel or Star Wars?
But what if you just like Disney? There's not a lot. Like, there's some little Mickey Mouse stuff for boys, but like, or maybe they can buy like a plastic pirate sword at the gift shop at the exit of Pirates of the Caribbean. But there's not a lot for little boys. And so it's kind of, you know, it's unfortunate. And you can find that stuff. You can find boys' clothes that is Disney branded outside of Disney World and outside, and even on Shop Disney, they have some of it. But when you're in the parks, there's just not a lot for them.
I have some friends, and they're expecting a child in July, and I just went to their baby shower, and the husband was talking about how like he loves Disney so much, but like when they were walking around the parks, they were trying to look for stuff for their son, their newborn son, and there really wasn't anything. But he loves Disney so much, he's just gonna buy like Princess Girls onesies and put the baby boy in it because he doesn't care, because that's all he can find. And he's like, nope, this is my son. He's wearing a Snow White outfit because I love Disney, and that's the only thing that was available for babies.
Well, why can't they just make it, I mean, somewhat gender neutral? You know, I mean, I'm dating myself, but when I was little and you didn't know if it was going to be a boy or a girl, you would buy somebody either something green or something yellow, because that was, you know, gender neutral in the 80s and 90s. So why can't they do more neutral things that could go for either boys or girls? I mean, when babies are little, it doesn't matter so much.
Right. I mean, even that would work. But again, even like the annual year onesies that they had at World of Disney, at least when I was there, it was, and you can see it on Shop Disney now, it's all the pinks and purples and yellows one. So again, there wasn't even like a gender neutral option, to your point. It was all 100%, I would say, marketed towards baby girls, and that's not fair.
No. There are some people in chat talking about the Pirates League and by extension from that Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. And there's a thing, like, I as someone who likes to think of herself as a somewhat progressive female, the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique makes me insane. Just insane. It's so expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And it just, like, and I'm not trying to take away from the fact that it creates this experience for little girls that I think is like, I understand that's a great experience. But the end message is that, you know, you need to be coated with makeup and hairspray and glitter to be happy. And I just think it sends this horrible, horrible message for little girls. And there is clearly no boys' alternative to that. There's a boy counterpart, or there was. The Pirate League was a counterpart, but it wasn't. And maybe that's a problem too, because it was like, you should aspire to be a swashbuckling pirate who just steals treasure and blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's all like, we're going to get into this on a future episode where we talk about like our princesses, good role models. But, you know, it's kind of, what are we really teaching little girls when we're saying like, we're going to spend $100 for you to get your hair like pulled back and glitter slathered on your face and hairspray until
I would never be allowed. My mother would be like, absolutely not. I will do it for you.
I mean, it's like borderline trollopy, honestly, sometimes. Like, you see these, like, 5-year-old girls who are wearing such a disgusting amount of makeup. Like, it's upsetting.
Yeah, that's another one of those things that I'm of two minds of. I don't know how I would so much feel about it if it weren't so much money. And when I was in college program, it may have not been a fun activity to go to the 3:00 parade and see how many Bibbidi Bobbidi princesses were just 1,000% done with the day. And those poor parents, because again, you know what they paid. And little girl is just 1,000% done by 3:00 because she's hot in that dress and the hair and the makeup and just having a full-blown meltdown. But
so somebody in chat just said if pirates can be for both, which it was, little girls could go to the pirates adventure and they could be pirates, they could be mermaids. It was there was definitely a thing. But he says, why can't we do princes too? And I'm just trying to picture, like, so first of all, there aren't really Disney prince costumes the way there's not costumes for them the way there are for little girls. But also, like, what does that look like? And here's the thing, I think it's gonna be like wispy sprayed back hair, a lot of blush, a lot of like lip gloss and stuff. Like, I'm just thinking of like the princes.
I don't even know that they would go that far. Just like the prince hairstyle and then the glitter and the pixie dust and poof, you're a prince. Like, I don't. Has anybody ever known?
There's a lot of dads that wouldn't be okay with that. Yeah. Like, dads would not be okay conversation with that.
No,
I would be. I think it'd be absolutely adorable to dress my little boy up as Prince Charming and say, "Go forth."
I don't understand
but
it,
yeah,
but I see working in skating. Dads always think that their sons need to go play hockey, and when the kid wants to do figure skating, the dads are like, "No." So I could see that being a problem for not my dad, because my dad is gay, so that's not a problem for my dad. But normal dads are like, "Mm-mm."
Yeah. I mean, that's But I do have a question though. Does anybody know? Has anybody tried to like? Are little boys like specifically banned from Bibbidi Bobbidi? Like, if I did have a son and tried to like,
you can take him, but it's not the experience is not the same at all.
Gotcha.
But boys, there is an option for boys at Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique.
There's no costume to upsell. You have to. It's BYOC. Bring your own costume.
You're not sitting in a makeup chair getting your hair and makeup done for an hour.
Right.
Well, then what do you do?
Yeah.
They get knighted. I actually honestly don't know if there's any kind of I don't know if there's any kind of like primping or spa experience or anything like that, but boys
people
do
in
get
the chat.
What if the little boy wants to dress up like a princess? Would they turn him away?
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't think Disney would. I don't think Disney would.
No. But now, I'm just curious. Like, what?
Penguin says, I asked about it once, got a couple of dirty looks, and I was like, never mind. I don't want to. They don't need to make the sale then.
Well, that's unfortunate.
They get their hair done and they get swords. Yeah, I don't think they'd turn anyone away, but at the same time, I don't know.
Well, considering Disney's inclusion as one of the keys, I think they need to rethink that, because there's going to be people that say, well, this isn't a boy or a girl, this is a person, and they want this treatment, and they're going to get it.
Yeah.
Well, on that,
dress up in their mom's clothes, and that's fine.
Happens all the time.
On that note, we can talk about the costumes on Shop Disney.
On that, well, we're gonna cut to commercial because we're way past normal commercial break time, and then when we come back, we do have some more costume and pink tax talk because we've definitely found some interesting evidence there on Shop Disney. But we will be right back after these commercial messages, including we're going to play for you the promo for Unplanned Downtime again, which I'm super excited about. And also, you'll see the commercial, but I want to plug tomorrow night at 8 p.m. It's an hour earlier. Tomorrow night is the final episode of Outside the Bubble. The guys went from sunrise to sunset all across the state of Florida. It's a bittersweet episode because it's the last Outside the Bubble that is part of the regularly scheduled programming. And then right after that, we get to bring you the first ever Happily Ever After tomorrow night, which I can't wait for. So,
yay!
But I just basically gave you a promo for the commercials, which is a really weird thing to do. All right, we'll be right back after these commercial messages.
$10.
Alexander Hamilton.
I could just leave that out front of my house to send a message to the other alligators in my neighborhood.
Or the Bob.
WDWNT presents Timekeeping, a year-by-year journey through the history of the vacation kingdom of the world. Join us for the premiere Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern, or watch on demand anytime on the WDW News Today YouTube channel.
This program and many more are brought to you by WIGS, the WDWNT Interglobe Society. Support WDWNT to get early and exclusive access to content you can't find anywhere else, including exclusive post shows for WDW News Tonight and Park Center each week, exclusive programs detailed and ride rehab watches, access to our Discord community, and much more starting at just $2 a month. For more information, go to patreon.com/WDWNT or visit WDWNT.com and click the Patreon link. Join WIGS and help make this and other shows happen.
Ride Rehab Watches is now a WIGS exclusive show.
Watch new episodes bi-weeklies on Friday at 9 p.m.
Oh, we are back, but we might be back without Shannon. But
She'll be here.
Or I'm sorry, Amy. While we wait for Amy to come back, I am going to flip over back to some of these pictures.
I was boiling water for tea.
A watch pot never boils. So in light of the costume conversation, and Ashley had pulled a bunch of pictures from Shop Disney of costumes that are available for little boys and little girls to kind of demonstrate where this whole pink tax situation comes in, because it seems like it's not as intense for adults, but it's definitely there for kids, especially in the costume. So we've got a Mando costume, and this looks pretty elaborate, right? Like, and it's on sale. Okay, so we can take into consideration it's on sale. But you've got the helmet and like the whole kit and caboodle with, like, I'm sure what are plastic, like his armor and clothes and everything. And you get all these different pieces for what was $50, now $34.99. And here's full description.
Yeah, you comes with the helmet, comes with the little leather, the cape, all of it.
attached leggings with metallic simulated leather knee guard and holster, like literally whole 9 yards.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And the girls have to buy all that stuff separate.
And then then you flip over, so you've got Aurora. Got your Sleeping Beauty costume here.
Already slightly more expensive, even though, again, also on sale. But was also more expensive.
But it is $5 more at the regular price.
Yep. And so here's the whole description.
Uh-huh. And then you notice the asterisk at the bottom. Tiara, wand, jewelry, and shoes all sold separately. And not just separately in a set. Go ahead.
Separately.
Separately.
You could buy a pink dress and buy all the accessories and look just as much like Aurora as if you wore that dress.
Except here's the thing, doing that would still cost you more than the Mandalorian costume would cost. Because
also true. Crazy. Because each of these pieces is an additional average of $20. So you have $20 for the jewelry, $20 for the shoes. The wand, I kind of count, but don't count, because at the same token, you'd also have to buy the Mandalorian's blaster. So there is something separate that you don't really need to make it the costume, in my opinion. And then you have the crown. So that's an additional, let's say, $60 on top of the actual costume itself.
And
to make it look like a complete costume.
Makes it. Yeah,
exactly.
It's not the dress.
Costume. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the dress is important, but it looks incomplete without at least the crown, and I would argue with at least not the crown and the jewelry. Or at least the crown. It looks incomplete. Whereas like the Mandalorian costume, you have the cape, you have the shin guards and everything, and you have the helmet. It's a complete costume.
Yeah. All inclusive.
All inclusive.
Emphasis on inclusive.
Yeah.
And I will say this. I didn't have to go to the boys section of the costumes, because this was actually listed on the girls' side too. So even though they had the different categories for, I'm assuming, inclusivity, it was on the same page as the princess costumes. So point one in their favor, I guess.
For kids. So they're just saying for kids, not for girls. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and there's no reason, obviously, that a girl can't dress up. Yeah.
There's no reason a boy can't dress up as Aurora either.
There's not. But I mean, again, if you're going with the stereotypical gender roles, the stereotypical girl one is clearly more expensive. It's more expensive on the face of it. And then on top of that, if you want it to look like a complete costume, you have to buy the accessories separately. And I'm willing to bet that is solely because Disney knows that you will pay for them separately. Whereas nobody would buy the Mandalorian costume without the helmet, and nobody would be willing to pay extra for the helmet. So they put them together.
And I think, I mean, for what it's worth, I think this translates to costumes outside of Disney as well. You know, if you go into your local Halloween pop-up store at Halloween time, you're gonna face the same thing, where women's costumes tend not to include all of the accessories that really kind of are what bring the whole thing together. Thankfully, these don't fall into the trap that most of those costumes do. So this makes me think back to some of our WDWNT, our News Tonight Halloween joke ads about, all of the costumes have to be sexy. You know, it's not just you're a nurse, you're a sexy nurse. You're not just a maid, you're a sexy maid. Like, it's all, like, at least Disney doesn't do that, but it's still, I also don't see a lot of costumes that are shown on the website with little girls wearing them that are not princesses. So I do think there's this really hardcore press where guys get to be the Mandalorian or, whoever, Buzz Lightyear, but girls are supposed to be princesses.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any other girl's costume that's not really a
They did have an Incredibles costume, which I think was technically like a unisex costume because it was just Incredibles.
Right, they all wear the same thing. Mm-hmm. They all pretty much wear although then you're putting your kid in like a spandex bodysuit, which maybe is other issues.
The sexy Incredibles.
You know, so somebody in chat says probably because girls want to be princesses and demand it. And I'm struggling to not argue with that statement because where did they learn that from? But that's a whole other episode of this show.
Right. I mean,
they didn't have these dresses when I was little. I mean, I don't know, maybe it was just the way my family was and the way my mom is. But if I wanted to be something for Halloween, my mom made it, or it had to be something inexpensive if we bought it. And I don't remember that. I mean, I'm old, but I don't remember there being any of this until after my sister. And my sister is 12 years younger than me, but I'm 46, so I don't remember this when I was little, and my sister is in her 30s. It was like after her, because if there had been a Little Mermaid and if there had been a Cinderella, that kid would have had it because she had everything. And I don't think there was. I mean, we had all kinds of stuff in the house that was.
I can vividly remember when we went to Disneyland. I think I got the Jasmine costume. My sister got the Snow White costume. I also had a Belle dress, but that wasn't an official, I think it was technically still Disney, but it was like the one that you buy from like Walmart for Halloween. And so they were definitely a thing when I was growing up.
So, and I'm not much younger. I'm only a couple years younger than you, Amy. And so for us, the Disney kind of renaissance, the second golden age with Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid and Aladdin didn't happen until I was 12 when Beauty and the Beast came out. Yeah. And at that point, and the merchandising didn't turn around fast enough so it wasn't an option for me until I was probably a teenager. And then I didn't want to dress up like a Disney character when I was 14 or 15.
I mean, this is kind of like to people younger, and I'm not saying like older is better or younger is worse. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But we didn't have VHS. Like, that wasn't a thing. Mm-hmm. So you had to wait for the film to go back to the theater, which only happened every so many years. So you didn't get to see Cinderella and I remember going to see Snow White.
Yeah.
Remember going to see Snow White with my grandparents. It was a big deal.
And that may have play part of it because
little kids today watch it. Parents will put their kids in front of the same exact Disney movie 20 times in a week. And you couldn't do that when we were kids. That wasn't an option.
No.
Yeah, but I mean, that might be an interesting, I was going to say that might be an interesting correlation because I'm 32. And so Little Mermaid literally came out the year that I was born. It was released on VHS when I was about a year old. And so I was peak Disney Renaissance to be a little girl through all of those releases and getting them on VHS and watching them ad nauseum, to the fact where my parents still joke about how much I watched Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin growing up. And so that may have something to do with it, that we were more drawn to being those characters and dressing up like them. So the merchandising was there because we saw them more.
Yeah, could be.
I just think about it
Cinderella over and over with my sister, and I never had that experience.
Yeah, I remember when I was, younger, 6 to 8 kind of age range, the costumes were the plastic masks that had an elastic strap that went around your head. And then the costume itself was like basically a sheet of plastic that had something printed on it that looked like the outfit. And, it might have been Wonder Woman or, Mario from Super Mario Brothers or something like that. But it wasn't this. It was nothing close. The costumes they sold for kids back then for any IP or non-IP were nothing like this. They were nothing like this.
I totally forgot about that, Jill. But yeah, I mean, I remember my mom having us wear like long underwear and those plastic, like it was like a pinafore thing that you would like wrap around and tie. And it was plastic ties that you would tie as like a belt around, and you'd wear thermal underwear because it was October in New Jersey, and we would go trick-or-treating with like a plastic sheet on our bodies.
You were basically you were basically wrapped in plastic.
I forgot all about that. Yeah, very different.
I say Mario too. Yes, not Mario. I don't know why. Yeah, there's another princess to maybe add to the mix at some point. Princess Peach.
Oh gosh,
it's very pink. So much pink.
So much pink.
Do we think Disney's gonna change? Like either I'm sure their prices are not gonna get cheaper. And I'm sure there's clearly enough purchasing of dress shop dresses and things like and lounge flies that those, we're not seeing the end of lounge flies and doonies and mini ears anytime soon. But I'd like to see some balance in the force. I'd like to see more men's merchandise. I'd like to not feel singled out all the time when I walk into stores in pretty much every park, because Studios has one. There's
Uptown Jeweler in Magic Kingdom.
Uptown Jewelers. There's Ever After at Springs. I mean, there's a lot of stuff at Springs. There's Trendy. There's most of Marketplace is explicitly targeted to women's clothing. Let's see some balance. And I don't, if the problem with 28 and Main was the fact that the stuff was made cheaply and people didn't want to buy it, then make better stuff. Stop selling as crap for a premium and just, I don't know. But then again, we broaden that to the argument about Disney as a whole. Stop giving me crap for a premium.
Right. But I feel like there's maybe a trajectory to balance in the force. I mean, they are kind of dipping their toe in, I think, especially partnering with Tommy Bahama to try to get Tommy Bahama isn't exclusively a men's line, but so far, at least from what I've seen, the Tommy Bahama stuff that has been released has been pretty much the men's button-up shirts.
They have women's stuff too. It's not the women's stuff is not. It's not remarkable. The Tommy Bahama men's shirts are really that's a signature look. They're so nice. Yeah. The women's stuff is just mini, it's Disney IP printed on cotton. It's not remarkable. And I think, and even that's, again, there's not a balance there. Mm-hmm. But and maybe that's part of the motivation for partnering and buying Star Wars and buying Marvel is because they knew they didn't have a huge stable of IPs that appealed to men, because so much of it is princesses. Yeah, and even the stuff that's not
but I think that's an unfair assumption, because guys can enjoy the princess movies too and like the characters in those movies. Not just the princesses themselves, but again, you've got Aladdin and Genie. One of my best friends who works for the company, he'll buy anything kind of you with the Crunk merch. He'll buy almost anything with Genie on it because he loves that character and loved Robin Williams. So, I mean, you could still use the IPs from those movies, but I hope that they're getting on that trajectory. Again, you've got Tommy Bahama, you've got the button-up shirts that are just the general printed button-up shirts that honestly are really cool. If they did a women's print, I know some of them have been dress shop dress prints, but if they did a shirt print or something else that I could wear, besides $128 dress, which if you, I would, but I can't.
Well, and actually, you and I had this conversation before about the frustration that there's not, for as much merchandise is targeted to women, men have these button-down shirts that they could wear to the office. They're not just those printed. I'm thinking the ones like there's a monorail one, there's an orange bird one, there's a figment one. Like they've made a pretty extensive different collection of different patterns of these men's button-down shirts. And I'm sorry, they are not like, if you have hips, those shirts do not fit you. But there's nothing comparable. And then there are golf shirts too. And I know Shannon was in chat earlier talking about like the golf wear and how limited the golf wear is for women, but men can buy a really nice like Nike dry fit shirt with like Mickey Mouse embroidered on it. And that's just really not an option for women. There's nothing like kind of in that business casual, I can wear it to work, not have it be so in your face Disney that everybody looks at me funny. But like, where is that line of merchandise? That doesn't exist. So for as much as they're the dress shop stuff, or it's, you know, t-shirts upon t-shirts upon t-shirts, and you know, you've got the shorts with the Minnie Mouse or the new Daisy Duck ones or whatever, but you don't have anything like that kind of makes you feel like an adult who likes Disney. And I wish there was more of that too.
Yeah, but I would wear the dresses. I mean, like, I'm fully aware, like, they were, I mean, they're allowed. They're I walk around and you can spot me down the hallway. And that's not for every work scenario, and that's not for every person. That's, you know.
Well, and that was kind of my point, like with the whole button-up shirt and everything and the prints. Like, again, like, I like them. I own the Tiki Bird dress. But I can't, to your point, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to wear to my job. Unfortunately, just because the nature of what I do, it's too loud. And it's a shame because when Trendy first opened, they had some really cute, and I owned some of it at the time. It's since worn out because it's 10 years old and it doesn't fit anymore and that kind of thing. But they had some really cute, really pretty, well-made, subtle Disney merch for women, and that just seems to have like faded and disappeared, and I don't know why.
I feel like that's definitely a lost opportunity. And you know, somebody said some of the men's shirts are really loud too, and they are. Like, I don't disagree with that. But men at least have some options that are not loud and over the top that are workplace appropriate, and women have none. You know, and I remember used to going to, I forget the name of it, the shop in the Grand Floridian, not Mickey Mercantile, but the one that was downstairs and closer to the side where Gasparilla and stuff is. And they used to have some really nice stuff too. And sometimes it was co-branded with other lines, the way Tommy Bahama is and stuff. But they had some really nice, like, dressy stuff. And they don't do any of that anymore. And I don't know if it's just because, people didn't buy it, but some of it was not, you know, widely available. You had to go to the gift shops at the the deluxe resorts at Grand Flow or you know, Bayview Gifts at the Contemporary to get some of this stuff. So it wasn't readily available to people in the parks to even know if those were the kind of people that wanted to buy it.
Right.
But maybe there is a point here to which, you know,
I'm slightly optimistic, but it wouldn't shock me to pieces if the answer is no, that we just keep getting more of what we're getting.
I feel like they have
found the niches, and they're just going to keep rolling with it.
Yeah,
it's possible.
They're in a place right now. Go ahead, Allison.
I mean, like, trends might, you know, this might be like the style and trend for, you know, several more years, but I mean, maybe, you know, 5 years or 10 years down the line, like, it's just gonna, like, the sales are just gonna go down, and eventually maybe they'll go for more subtle stuff. I mean, like, who knows, because things will come in and out of style all the time. So
yeah, I feel like Disney right now is in a place where they are just trying to keep cramming a square peg into a round hole, and if it doesn't fit, they just cram it even harder, you know? And I think that's what they're doing with merchandise, because I feel like that's all they're doing is just making more and more and more of the same stuff, no matter how well it sells, no matter how much of it winds up at the outlets, no matter how much of it, you know, is marked down in the parks and goes on sale or whatever. But I'd like to think that, you know, there's a point at which, you know, and whether it takes 5 years, whether it takes, you know, maybe, you know, a Josh D'Amaro CEO-ship to make that happen, whatever. I think it's overdue, because I think there is an appetite for it. And I know a lot of those people that want to buy that kind of stuff. And it's a shame that, you know, there are people, I walk into World of Disney now, or I walk into Mouse Gear now, and there's nothing I want to buy. And that kind of stinks too. You know, it's like, oh, I really want something. I want to find something that I like, and I just can't here.
Yeah, what do you think it would take for that to actually start to happen, for it to go into that direction?
I don't know. I don't know if like giving feedback is useful. Like, I definitely think there's a point in some situations where if you give feedback about something to a cast member, I think they will take it back and do what they can with it. And I think maybe, you know, I'm just, but I don't know if merchandise is a place where that's really effective.
I think it would just take them watching the sales numbers.
Yeah. I think it takes people not buying this stuff. And again, like, just like it would take people not going to the parks to make them realize that they're giving us an inferior product that people aren't willing to pay for. If people keep buying the merchandise, I don't know that it's going to happen.
Well, I hate to say it, but I think this goes into something that we've said on several shows, different shows, a lot, is that if they had any idea who was buying the stuff, which they don't, they could, and they actually have the resources are there because they know the names from the credit card numbers, and they have the information, but they do nothing with it.
Yeah.
Like with pass holders, it would be so easy for them to see who's buying what age demographic is buying what. If they were trying to like they should, and this is something they should know, if they're trying to target millennials, they should have the data to back it up when it hits the market to say this is who's buying it are millennials. But if that's not who's buying it, then they should rethink their target market. I mean, but maybe this is super covert and we just don't know about it, but I don't think they're doing it.
I don't think they are. I think they're just looking at the overall sales. I think they're just watching what sells out, and they're just at a very surface level. Again, that's why you see, for better or worse, every event that happens now has a certain set of merchandise. It has pins, obviously. It has a Spirit jersey now. It has the Tervis tumblers. It has, you know, you can almost anticipate exactly what's going to come out for every festival or event because it's the same recycled merchandise, because that's quote unquote what's selling. They're not bothering to ask what else people want because they have the set pattern of what people are willing to buy.
So somebody said in the chat, customers are going to buy stuff as long as guests go to the parks. They buy what is available, and they, I assume Disney knows that. But here's the difference. And here's, I think, what Amy's argument
because stuff ends up at the outlets.
No, but here's what I'm saying is, here's the difference. And what Amy's argument is, if they use data to actually see what people really bought, they could make more of the stuff that people bought and less of the stuff that they don't. So people would not just buy stuff, they would buy more stuff. And that's the boat they're missing. That's the opportunity they're missing, is they could be selling so much more if they were selling stuff that people really wanted and not just, I bought it because it was there.
But again, that's kind of my point. They don't. It would, and you're absolutely not wrong. But again, I don't think they care that much, because I think to them it is far easier and cheaper now that they have kind of this set formula of the merchandise that people are buying. They don't care. They feel like that's good enough.
Well, and again,
because
that's
quote unquote
what Disney's
selling out
right now. That's what Disney's doing right now is this is good enough. People are still coming, so we're just going to keep doing the same thing we've been doing because people keep showing up. And instead of looking at it as, okay, we know people are showing up, but how can we get them to spend more while they're here? Like they're missing, like that's what data analytics, somebody said data analytics. That's exactly what data analytics is. Mm-hmm. You look at your data to maximize, and Disney's not doing that. They just say, oh, we've got a ton of people coming. We've got rooms booked. We've got park tickets booked. There's so much more they could be doing. They could be doing it with the merchandise. They could be doing it with the food. They could be doing it with, add-on experiences and tours and all kinds of stuff. And they don't because they're lazy. And I think that's what it is. Mm-hmm. They think people are going to keep throwing money at us so we can just sit back and let it rain and not do anything. And I think that's going to burn out after a while. And then they're going to be stuck.
I don't think it's lazy. Yep. I think it's that, because money. So it would cost them money to do that, and they don't see a big enough ROI. Although I feel like that's
it's complacency.
Against what every other big company does. Every other big company,
especially these days.
Yeah.
Every other big company is worried about disruption, is worried about competition, and Disney doesn't seem to be because they think they're untouchable. No. Which is how big companies
so they're complacent in what they're doing.
Yeah, it's going to bite them in the end at some point.
Yeah, there's going to be a tipping point eventually.
Because a lot of the big wigs,
well, what are they going to care? By the time it actually happens, they're going to be gone.
By the time it happens, they're gone.
Yeah, and that's the difference, I think, between Disney and other consumer companies that are really hardcore looking at data analytics and trying to understand who their customers are and where their opportunities are. The difference is Disney's trajectory is longer than that. And so, especially right now, people are champing at the bit to get out and go somewhere. And Disney's a really desirable destination because people can drive there from a lot of the country. People can't really fly internationally right now. So Disney's just sitting back and saying, come here, because where else are you going to go? And I think that's going to run out after a while. But in the meantime, these people who are in charge of things right now don't need to worry about that. I think you're absolutely right. Nope. Anyway, well, we've ranted quite a bit here, ladies. I appreciate it. There's been some good discussion. There's been some ranting. We've had some really good comments in the chat. Before we go, I do want to share that next week's episode, next episode, which is in 2 weeks, again, Wednesday at 8 p.m., July 14th is our next episode. We're talking about female perspectives on Marvel, and especially the new Black Widow movie, which comes out July 9th. So we're very excited to see that. It's a, superhero movie starring a female, which you don't get a ton of. So that's really exciting. And then how do we feel about Marvel in general? Do you like it? Do you hate it? How do you feel about how women are portrayed in the Marvel movies? So all of that is on tap for our next discussion in 2 weeks. So we hope you all will join us, and we're very excited and looking forward to that. I see Allison with all her pink Nuimos.
Aww.
Pink cats.
We have a cats play with.
All right. And with that, I want to say thank you to my co-host, Ashley, to Amy and Allison. It has been a great show. I very much appreciate you all being here. And if I can find the end credits, I will throw them up on the screen now and say good night to everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Good night.